Okay, today I'm going to show you how to remove the struts on an Audi Q7. This is a 2007 model. So let's go through the instructions here real quick. So you need a torque wrench when you're putting stuff back on. They have a special kind of jack which nobody's going to have. And then these are triple point bits. They say you need a 12 or 14. In my case, it's 11 millimeters. So I used a star bit 11 millimeters for that, and then just a basic hydraulic jack to support the wheel. So that takes care of those three, and then a ball joint puller, which is kind of the fork looking one. Alright, so first step is remove the wheel, and then to remove this bolt right here, I'll show you that one right now. So that is right there. It's right there. It is an 18 millimeter, and you're gonna have to have one on both sides. And there it is. So this part connects to the strut itself. Okay, the next step is to remove the drive axle from the rear drive. These are 12 point, and I'll show them to you right there. There's 6 of them, and they're 11 millimeters, at least on my car they are. So on the other side, I've already got this side apart, but you can see where I separated that. I guess the reason being maybe that it did allow this to tip forward more, gave a little more room for removing the strut. On this other side, I'm going to see if I really need to do that, so I'm going to go to the next step. Okay, the next step is to remove the nut from the tie rod end. So here's the tie rod end right here, and I actually did remove the nut on this one, but I was having a hard time getting this separated, and I didn't want to ruin my boot, so I don't really know if you need to do this step. I don't think you do. So going on to the next step, it says if you have a level control system sensor, then you need to unscrew that nut, number 2, right there. I don't have that one, so I didn't have to do that step. And then remove your brake hose from the wheel bearing housing. Brake hose clips in right here, and then right over here, and then that'll allow this to pull over more, give you more room to pull the strut out. Then they say turn the wheel hub and put one of your wheel bolts back in, and then you use this special tool which probably only the dealer has. So they're just basically saying support the wheel bearing housing, and then don't lift. So what I did to support the wheel bearing housing is I just used a hydraulic jack right there, like that, just to support it. And then they've got a warning, don't lift or lower the vehicle if that jack is still under the vehicle, and don't leave it there any longer than necessary. Probably because it's a hydraulic jack, I guess. So the next step is to remove the nut from the upper control arm and press the arm off. For this step, you're going to need this fork. I rented mine just at a local auto parts place. And so you're going to want to put that in there and then pound it until, first you're going to pull this nut off, and then you're going to hit this and pound it until this pops out. This nut is also an 18 millimeter. And there it is, popped out. This is also how you take out your upper control arm, or if you need to change the upper ball joint on your car. On the Audi Q7, they're not serviceable, so you actually have to remove the full upper control arm. So the next step is right back in there. We're going to take those bolts off. Okay, it's a 16 millimeter. If you don't have a 16, then 5/8 will also work. So you're going to need to put one on each side. And there's with it out. I'll just show you what the bolts look like. So they go through on each side. And there's the bolts right there. On the far side, right here, to get to that bolt, you're really going to need a wrench because it'll barely fit back in there. You won't be able to fit a socket. And there it is. Okay, so next step is remove connector nuts. Number one, actually sorry, let's see, I must have missed a step. The next step is to move these 4 bolts from the strut mounter. So it's these 4 right here. They are 13 millimeters. Okay, now you're gonna remove the connector nut, suspension strut to the lower control arm. So that's this one right here, and that's this one right there. It's a 21 millimeter. Okay, so just a side note on this, you can see that when it comes out it drops down about an inch or so. I can see now why they would have had you jack this part up to lift this wheel bearing a little bit, if you had a special tool to do that. But for me to get that out, I needed an impact wrench. So, and it's out. So you'll need to, that's gonna pop off. You'll need to rock the top forward and navigate around this and kind of pull it out. You have to be really careful. You don't want to rip those boots that you got down here, so be real careful. Okay, so we got the new struts. So I got this brand Bilstein B4, and that was OEM for the Audi. So just so you know, I'm not going to go over how to remove the coil spring and put it on the new strut in this video. That's something you can search for in other YouTube videos. I kind of cheated on this, and I just paid a local mechanic a little less than $40 to just go ahead and switch it over for me. So that's an option that you have as well. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so the first step here is you're going to want to put the strut in and push it up on these 4. And if you can just get a couple of threads on all 4 of them, and then you can zip it up. Once you've zipped it all the way up, then you can put this lower bolt on down here. So as you can see, I've got these on here, and I just need to tighten those up, and then I'll be able to put the lower one on after. Okay, so the torques for those 4 bolts that go on the top is 30 newton meters or 22 foot-pounds, and then the one that goes across in the bottom is 150 newton meters or 110 foot-pounds. Okay, those are torqued at 22 foot-pounds. Now, the trick to this is, what you want to do is you want to move this, and once it's exactly right, so you can use the jack to adjust it. Once you get it just right, then you can slide that bolt in. Now on the other side, the bolt will probably be a little higher than this piece. So what I had to do is jack it up a little bit more and then twist it through this one. There we go. And that one's torqued to 110 foot-pounds. Okay, so here's the new upper control arm with the brand new ball joint. So we're going to put this on next. And here's what we're going to need: the 2 bolts, 2 nuts. And if you remember, we're going to have either 5/8 or 16 millimeters, either one. Okay, mine was really tough to push in, so I kind of figured they've got these little tabs here, and I put a screwdriver and then hammered on it, and that's how I was able to get that in. Quick thing that I made a mistake on. This is not 110 feet, it's 110 feet plus 90 degrees. So it shows it right here. it's 150 newton meters plus 90 degrees. So you need to do another quarter turn on that one. Just so you know, getting that bolt through there can be a little bit of a pain, but just be prepared, and if you work at it, you'll get it. Just a tip, it'll help to get a nice long breaker bar. This is a 25-inch breaker bar that I used to get that last quarter turn right down on this nut down here. Okay, just a quick tip how to get this one on, because this is a tough one. I found if you put your left hand, your thumb on this, and use your right hand to put the nut up in place, and then if you put your right hand and you twist it, and you just hold it like this with your left hand, it makes it a lot easier. Okay, these torque, you can see number 30, that's the ones that we're doing right now for the upper control arm. Those torque to 50 newton meters plus 90 degrees. That equals 37 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. Before you do that, you need to measure the distance between the ball joint and A, so you can see right there, and that needs to equal, at least for my car, 155 millimeters. So you're gonna have to get your alignment done anyway, but this at least gets it in the ballpark. Okay, in case you did take these bolts out, the torque for these is, let's see, it shows it right here. So if the head's an M10, then it's 50 newton meters, or if it's an M12. Mine was an 11 millimeters, so I just split the difference and did a 70 newton meters, which is 52 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. So that's what I did on mine. That's these bolts back here. So on one side I took these out. It was a lot of extra work. I guess the advantage to it is it allows this whole thing to slip out and down, which allows it to be less bent and more parallel to the ground, so it's more straight as this thing drops down. So I guess it probably prevents you from damaging things. I think if you're careful, you probably could get away with not doing it. Now that I got that on there, I was ready to put this in. So I got this positioned here. Now this nut that goes on there is 85 newton meters, 63 foot-pounds. Okay, so we're down to the last step before we put the wheel on, and that's just to connect this bar right here that connects to the strut, and then it connects down to this link here. They call this a coupling bar. That's the name of it, coupling bar. Both bolts, so you're going to want to put the bolt comes from the back on the top, and the nut comes right here. But it's the opposite on the bottom one, so the bolt goes this way on the bottom. Both of them are going to be 110 newton meters torque, or 81 foot-pounds. Just a tip on getting this bolt in on the top. It's really long, and it actually hits up against this, so I would recommend either, well, the way I got it in was I jacked up, I still have my jack underneath there, and I just jacked this up a little bit higher until I could finally push it through. So, and just a reminder on the bolt size, it's 19 or 3/4. Alright, and then when you're putting the wheels back on, you can tighten it to 50 newton meters, which is 37 foot-pounds, and then lower the vehicle to the floor. And then for the Q7, the torque is 160 newton meters, or 118 foot-pounds. And that's just for your lug nuts. Alright, hope this video helped you. Good luck. That was exhausting, but totally worth it. If you liked it and it helps you out, then please give me a thumbs up and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.